This podcast is brought to you courtesy of Skype.
You're listening to But Wait, There's Lore, hosted by Pride.
I am a god!
Only on Nordrasil Radio at nordrasilradio.com. This podcast may contain harsh language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hopefully you guys can hear me now. Can you hear me? Please, for the love of lore, please tell me that you can hear me, because, yeah, I just went on like a 5-minute rant and spiel about everything, and then suddenly, like, IRC's like, can't hear you, bro. And then I felt really bad and all other sorts of things. Anyways, guys, welcome to But Wait, There's Lore right here on Nordrasil Radio at nordrasilradio.com. I am Pride, and today I am joined by Bestby and Blondie.
Hi.
Blondie is usually the producer of But Wait, There's Lore, but today he has stepped in for this Funsies episode to talk a little bit about lore with us as well. So he's pulling double duty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Pulling double duty.
Flex.
Indeed.
Yeah, because he's just that strong. He's just such an awesome guy like that.
Well, I'm internet strong.
Lore fan 101 asks a very good question. He says, "Is Blondie a girl?" And that is yet to be determined at this point.
I still believe he is, but you know, what can you do?
There's a paradox in your statement though, because you said he is
Exactly.
a girl.
You know what? That's just because I don't want to offend you too much. I went ahead and just went both ways, right? So that
Exactly.
all bases were covered.
That just sounds dirty. Let's just move on, please.
All right, we'll move on. All right, so this is a Funsies episode, right? Like this is one of those episodes. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fan interaction. I like to do these things every once in a while because sometimes going around talking for 2 hours about nothing but lore can get a little tiring, right? And so the hosts, we need to recharge our lore batteries. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to recharge ourselves, so we need to have some fun. Don't worry, though, we are going to talk about lore. It's not like there's no lore on the show. There's actually going to be quite a lot of lore. It's just we're going to have a little bit more fun with it than usual, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going at today. I do want to go ahead and say that if you're not in the IRC, you should be, and I apologize to those who are in the IRC because they may or may not get one massive IRC spam. But if you're not in the IRC, go to nordrasilradio.com and click on the chat button right up there at the top, and there's going to be a Java applet that's going to load, and then you're going to be in the IRC chat room where there's like hundreds of people, and we're all talking about lore, we're all talking about the show, and all that good stuff. And
Actually, they're talking about what the L in BWTL stands for right now.
Yeah, and looks like Fonzie at one point. So
Yeah.
there we go.
And now it's a lot of red or green or whatever color you go for.
See, now we have the join spam.
Yeah, and
That's
we also
fine.
have
Join
people
spam is
saying
fine. That's why we do it at the beginning of the show and not at the end of the show or in the middle of the show. Because we want to get everyone in at the start.
Yeah, don't want anybody to feel left out.
Also, I just want to point out that the people that are asking if how to get to the chat room or in the chat room are total idiots.
Yeah, if you're in IRC and you're asking how to get to the chat room, just open your eyes.
Yeah, you're kind of already in the chat room. So yeah, there you go.
Indeed.
Congratulations.
All right, on. So let's. Is there anything else we need to plug? Because I'm really really bad about like plugging things that I'm supposed to plug, and that's why I have people like Blondie with me who are better at remembering things that I'm supposed to do.
Well,
So is there anything else we need to do right now before we get into?
well, we might as well mention that on Sunday, the 4th of September, in 2 days, there's gonna be a interview on Nordrasil Radio with it's hosted by you actually. If you didn't know.
Well, there's like a group of us.
Yeah, okay.
From what
I
there's
think
like
you
a group.
and
It's
CN.
it's myself, CN, and I don't think Morfar is gonna be like in the interview, but I think he's gonna be like behind the scenes, kind of. So, yeah, definitely myself and CN. We're gonna team up for some epic awesomeness with Method, and we're gonna be interviewing Method, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about WoW rating and the rating scene and all that good stuff and what's going on with that. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna have a hell of a time with that. So me and CN, we're gonna hook up and take care of business.
You're
care of business.
You're gonna hook up and take care of business.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's all we gotta say.
Yeah, I think we
Well,
also need.
I mean, if your mind wasn't in the gutter, then we wouldn't have to.
No, I guess.
Obviously, we know where your mind is at. Every time I say something, you have to take what I say and my voice, which, while it is sexy, turn it into some kind of sexual innuendo thing, and that's just, I think that says a lot for what you are.
I'm from the internet. What do you expect? But on a serious note, I think we need to plug our email address, which is lore@omfg.fm,
Yep.
and you can
Yes,
send
you
any.
can. Go
Remember,
ahead.
send us all those wonderful lore questions, which hopefully they aren't stupid and asking for Jesse again. Aha!
Was there someone that asked for Jesse?
Yeah,
last week there were like 2.
Okay.
That's something. That's something that people like. I've been so used to for now. Like I just overlook it.
Yeah, I'm starting to overlook people calling me Jesse as well, especially
Yeah, I know.
the people from Nordisil Radio that make fun of it.
Well, the ones in Nordisil Radio are just trolling you.
Yeah.
They're actually like on the OMFG kind of Facebook and stuff that like they actually think that you are Jesse.
Yeah, I know. Whatever.
It's alright, Blondie. You can become one and the same with Jesse. Merge.
No, I wouldn't like that.
I couldn't be that funny, so yeah.
All right. Anything else? Is there anything else that we need to talk about before this stuff?
I don't know. I have a Twitter. No, I'm just kidding. No,
What is it at Blondie? Right.
that's Sir Blondie. But no, let's move on. What are we gonna talk about?
At Sir Blondie. We're gonna talk. All right. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I had this all like set up and stuff, but we're gonna throw that away. So I want to say like a couple of months ago, back in I think like June or July. I don't know because I have a terrible memory about these things. We had confirmation. Actually, I think it may have been even before that. I'm not entirely sure, but
August 15th.
I'm gonna say like a couple of weeks ago.
August 15th.
Or a couple of months ago. No, I'm not talking about that yet.
No.
See, you're assuming I'm talking about one thing and I'm talking about another thing.
Whatever.
A couple of months ago, it was confirmed by Blizzard during a lore creative developers Q&A that the RPG books are not considered canon, and this was like a huge deal in the lore community. Like this was like, wow, type of stuff. Like this was like, if RPG is not considered canon, then we have to change everything. Because a lot of stuff was assumed and taken from the RPG books. And a lot of things people wanted to be canon, or a lot of things that people thought was canon, is no longer canonical lore. So it opened up a whole hell of a lot of holes in the story that everyone had kind of come together and agreed upon. So, that was something that I wanted to touch on a little bit back before the show was back before we started season 3 of this podcast. However, now, just a couple of weeks ago, you said what, on August 14th or 15th or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, August 15th.
Anyways, the World of Warcraft official magazine came out, and in this particular magazine, there was actually a lot of lore information posted right there in that magazine. And I believe if we break it down, it's something having to do with Bran Bronzebeard asking a bunch of like badasses a bunch of questions I believe he was talking to who? Like he talked to like Cenarius and some other folks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Right on. And the lore community, the lore community got yet another big thump on the head when it was confirmed that night elves are indeed evolved from trolls.
That was something that personally I thought for a while, but we had no true confirmation of that they were trolls evolved into night elves from the radiation, or whatever you wish to call it, the magic of the Well of Eternity. So that's something that's just really intriguing.
Definitely, and like this was an argument within the lore community forever. Like it was split up into two different factions. Well, kind of three, but two big factions. One was all over. One was saying yes, the night elves used to be trolls. They are more evolved forms of trolls, and that's the way it is. While you had this other people who were denying it like crazy. They're like, that's stupid. There's no way. There's no way that such a pristine race could have evolved from such, from trolls.
Well,
Yeah.
there were hints in game, in World of Warcraft, books and stuff, if you're one of the people that read them. But that said, basically, that trolls went to the Well of Eternity and then turned into night elves. But people have been disputing that, and it wasn't like exactly as clear text as I said it. So there has been.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying it like that. That's how it was written in a book. Hey, you guys, trolls went to Well of Eternity and now they're night elves. Okay, it's not that simple.
I think it was something along the lines of it was directed as a troll army, or not an army, something like a group of trolls went up north or something along those lines, and they never were seen from again.
Yeah, and around that time the night elves appeared. I think that's what the book says.
Yeah, something like 50 years later or so, the night elves appeared, or something along those lines. So.
So.
But yeah, like I was saying, you had two major factions in the lore community. You had those who said no, they didn't, and you had those that said yes, they did. And on this particular day in August, we all had to lay down our swords. We had to lay down our magics, because it was confirmed that night elves did indeed evolve from trolls, specifically dark trolls.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this? Like, is this a good thing for the lore? Is this a bad thing for the lore? What do you think? And IRC, I want to get a couple of comments from you guys as well. IRC, what do you think about this this deal? Right? What do you think about night elves being evolved from trolls?
If you wanna comment on this night elf troll thing, you should click on my name. I am Blondie on IR, and write a query to me. So
yeah.
I can pick and choose a little bit.
Yes.
And all that.
Yes.
How about Bestby starts? Since he's a regular.
So basically, send a tell to Blondie in the IRC, and we want to bring you guys into the show. This is a part of the whole fan interaction, listener interaction deal. So we want to bring you guys into the show. So PM Hem, your thoughts on what this whole deal is with the confirmation that night elves did evolve from trolls.
Alright, so let me just begin real quick. I have to say, this could prove up several interesting factors to come, being that the night elves did evolve from trolls. That would mean that their cultures are somewhat similar, and though the trolls have lost a lot of their culture, they could still bring in some of the other cultural traits that are the same. And
What the hell is that?
what was that?
That's my phone.
Oh.
Okay.
Alright, so
Copyright. We're getting sued now because Event Sevenfold came over the airwaves.
Yeah, we're being shut down.
Oh no! Alright, so they could bring over different cultural traits, as well as later on, when the night elves themselves begin to delve farther into their more what's the word? Basically the history of the Night Elves before they became Night Elves, they could find different societal rules, which could in turn into different factions warring for the old ways and different things along those lines.
My thoughts
I disagree.
My thoughts on this is that if WoW is going to stay the same as it is now in gameplay mechanics, that is the two main factions, and you won't have the same race on two factions, then this will do very little for the game. However, if there starts to be a sort of mix between, there's like 3 factions or something, or 2 factions, and you can pick and choose between which you want to be, this could bring the trolls and the night elves together. Mostly night elves trying to embrace where they came from.
I disagree.
Okay.
Okay, why?
Never happened. It will never happen. The trolls are too close to the orcs, and the night elves just cannot get along with the orcs, and that's what's going to stop them.
Well, something that can be very intervened there is that the Darkspear trolls are not associated with the rest of the trolls anymore. Like in.
So what do you? So you think that like they're gonna go with the Amani tribe? The night elves are gonna go to the Amani tribe and be like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" I don't think so. Not with everything that the Amanis have done. I don't think so. I don't think that the night elves really care that they came from trolls. Like I don't think that that's. Obviously, they know that. I mean, someone somewhere down the line has retained the information that they evolved from trolls at some point in time, right?
Evolved or mutated?
Yes, it has to. Yeah, probably mutated more so than evolved.
Especially if it's like 50 years.
So that, I mean, they know. If they know and they haven't talked about it, it's because they don't want to talk about it because they don't care, right? Like they don't want to be trolls.
Well,
I mean,
they don't want to be associated.
No offense, no offense to the Horde and all that and trolls and whatever, but like, why would they want to reconnect with their lesser forms, right?
Well,
oh my god!
You say that as if they are a higher species, which is something.
That they are.
And I don't buy that because I think that they are not evolved; they are mutated.
It's as I was going to mention real quick, it's much like how the Cinderai, or excuse me, the Quel'Dorai mutated from the Night Elves. It wasn't so much because of, oh, hey, I just want to go and do this. It was because they were forced out. They might have been thrown out of their own culture and they want to go back. They want to go back and trace back their roots or something along those lines.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there aren't really that many dark trolls left in the world of Warcraft.
There really aren't.
I can't remember any tribe.
I believe there was the one tribe, the Shadowtooth clan. Don't remember it was the clan that the Twilight Tamer killed in Hyjal. I completely spaced on their name, so I'm probably going to get flamed for it. Anyways.
Oh yeah. According to Wowpedia, the Shadowtooth clan is the only known dark troll organization, and they were
Shadowspear. Excuse me. Sorry.
Shadowtooth, actually. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
and they were killed in Warcraft 3. So basically, they were thrown out of their own society for some reason and chose to go north. Why we don't know.
In which they eventually got mutated into the Night Elves.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like they don't care. They don't want to reconnect with those guys. Like in my professional opinion, the Night Elves do not want to reconnect with them at all.
However, it could be something along.
I just want to throw in a comment from the audience here. NACL said, for us humans, monkeys are just animals. Maybe elves are just the same about trolls. So,
Well, no, because
did I drop everyone right now?
they do have a humanoid form, but at the end of the day, like night elves, if you put a troll, a night elf, and a human together, the two closest would be the human and night elf.
I suppose so. But
I still don't buy that they are a higher evolved form of the trolls. They are a magical mutated form of trolls.
if anything, I would have to say that their society is more evolved than the trolls, but not their physical forms.
Well, yeah, it depends on how you see it. They evolved or mutated into living in cities, the great cities of the Night Elf Empire, compared to living more in the wild, in huts and stuff like the trolls. So, while the Night Elves are more refined, the trolls are more primitive. And that I understand, and it's quite clear actually.
Sort of like how we still find...
Okay, well, hold on, because the Neanderthals were more primitive than us as humans, right? So, are you saying that we're a lesser form than the Neanderthals?
What?
As human beings, right? Like we're humans, right? Homo sapiens. Neanderthals or Neanderthals, depending on what you want to call them, are they're, you know, going back in evolution history and whatnot. If we evolved from them, then
that's the thing.
I know there's a whole like missing link deal and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, the evolution of evolution shows that we evolved from something that also evolved into the Neanderthal. So it split, and the Neanderthal died, and there you go.
I was going to more or less mention how, if you trace back human history, you find that, yeah, we actually began evolving into city-states, etc. And as we can see in Azeroth, the trolls built massive cities just everywhere. So who's to say that they were indeed more evolved than the Night Elves in any case? Because at that time, the Night Elves themselves would still be a young race. They would be much like another civilization branch of the trolls.
Weed Gamer asks, how many races of trolls are there? On Wikipedia there are 5, and in The Last Guardian there are only 4.
I don't think the Last Guardian counted the Dark.
No, me neither. Considering as far as we know, they only existed, past tense, in Hyjal. They're pretty much screwed.
Yeah. So, as far as we know, the Dark Trolls are gone off of the face of this earth, which can actually prove to the Night Elves, or in-game wise, the Night Elves sin for excavations of where the Dark Trolls used to live, so they could truly find out what their heritage was.
As interesting as this is, I think we need to go to a break, actually. I totally spaced out because I'm talking. It's hard doing this and talking at the same time.
Yeah, I know. Why do you think I brought you in for season 3 instead of doing it like I did in season 1 and 2?
Yeah, I guess. So
it's nice having someone else who's there to, you know, remind you that you need to take a commercial break, because when you get started talking and all that stuff, you just want to keep talking, and then boom, there you go.
So break time.
Break time.
This podcast is brought to you courtesy of Skype.
Pride heralds the end of your world.
And welcome back to But Wait, There's Lore right here on Nordrasil Radio at nordrasilradio.com. I am Pride, joined by Bestby and Blondie. And we are still continuing to talk lore here on the show, as per usual.
As always.
We
Something
do want to bring in some of the fans deals though. So Blondie, believe you have the PMs and everything. So let's get right into it. Let's go.
Alright, so Morpheus __ said, if Nelves evolved from trolls, they may start to think that they are more superior to the trolls, or a faction of Nelves may think that.
I already do think that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that a lot of elves do think that. Like, especially if they do in fact know that they were mutated or evolved from trolls, then they probably do think that. I mean, they walk straight, they
indeed.
all that other good stuff.
Especially high elves and blood elves.
Will undoubtedly think they're better than trolls, whereas now they just kind of
because I mean they think they're better than night elves.
Mm-hmm.
They think they're better than everyone.
Yeah.
There is no one better than the high elves, according to them. I can think of a few. Just about everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Alright, so next question.
Next thing was Jim __ said, I have a question about
the double underscores.
I don't know. These actually may
Like-
not. Yeah, they are double underscores. I have a question about the troll and night elf thing. Seeing as night elves did become trolls, no, it's the other way around. Seeing as trolls became night elves, how did they lose their shamanistic powers? And in that, it's quite important to note that shamanistic powers isn't something that is inherited. Really?
Yeah, like that's not something that like you wake up when you're a child and you hit puberty and all of a sudden you're shooting lightning bolts and shit out of your fingers.
Tossing rocks into the air and walking on water.
Mm-hmm. It's something that you gain through training.
Yeah.
You commune with the elements and you gain access to their powers. I'm unsure what the elements get in return, really. Maybe they're just being super nice, like, yeah, you can use our power, you can summon us and then have us killed.
Or maybe it's like when you die, they eat your soul or something.
Well, and maybe the night elves just think that shamanism is an archaic or an ancient deal that they don't want to deal with. Like
it is
druidism, for example. Like they may perhaps see druidism as the better form of shamanism.
Mm-hmm.
That could be something. I was about to say that there is a lot of similarities between shamanism and druidism.
Yeah, which is like why during the break I was saying, well, perhaps shamanism, or druidism, excuse me, evolved from shamanism to a point. Because we all know Cenarius and what he looks like. If you notice, the upper half of his body looks very similar to a night elf, so perhaps he was picked by a loon to be turned into the stag creature, much how Malfurion is now slowly mutating into essentially a bird.
Yeah.
So it could be something to that extent.
Yeah, I mean there's lots of different ways we could go about answering that question. It's just we don't know 100% for sure the reason why night elves didn't adapt or adopt shamanism. And instead, became druidic, and even for a while, archaic. What the hell am I saying? Arcane. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
And they are again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. They are becoming more magic tolerant again.
Rather than being strictly druidism and such.
Indeed.
Druids, priests, and demon hunters.
Yes, druid, priests, and demon hunters. That is all their society revolves around, not even trading.
So, Thacy? Why do you have to pick really, really weird usernames? I'm gonna go with Thacy. Says, many Night Elf druids in the high societies are very empathic towards other druids, hence their welcoming of Tauren and Worgen druids. And I guess the troll druids as well. Doesn't mention them, but whatever. Why would trolls be any different, especially if they are direct ancestors?
I suppose they wouldn't, but I haven't seen a troll really use druidism to that much of an extent.
No, there isn't a big troll druid symbol. Like, there is Hamul rune totem, and there is just about every night elf character there's a male. But I guess there aren't that big of a Worgen character either. They kind of died down, the Worgen, after the intro scene.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think troll druids would be welcome. However, it doesn't really seem like there are that many in any form of troll culture. It's just about strictly shamanism.
Yeah. Obviously, they have the druids in game, but I would still say that those are more shamans than druids.
Yeah,
in lore.
I have to agree. In lore, they would be more shamanistic than they would druidic. And if they weren't, it would be a very small sliver of trolls that were actually strictly druidic. It would be like one small group out of an entire society.
I agree. I fully agree. So, I think that's the end of the...
Yeah, I think we should wrap up the whole night elf deal.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the useful comments so far. I mean, there are some comments like someone said, "Isn't night elves a different race?" and totally missed the point of the mutation evolution thing. And another one said that trolls have 3 fingers and night elves have 5, and they laugh differently. Like, missing the point of evolution here, people. They changed.
All right, well, let's move on and talk about this. I mean, not only did this issue, bring that to light, but also they're starting to add on to Pandaren lore, which goes a little bit further into making us believe that perhaps Mists of Pandaria is in fact the next expansion pack. But some of the things that they talked about were really how long the Pandaren have been here. For example, we learned that the Pandaren have a society that is far older than that of the Night Elves. And on top of that, we also have the Pandaren saying that they are older than Furbolgs and are not related to them. So, like, they are older than the Furbolgs, but they are not descendants or ascendants of Furbolgs. Like, there's no evolutionary tie there between those two races.
Note that the quote is, Pandaren claim to be older than Furbolgs and not related to them. Blizzard could turn this on its head and say, yeah, they are, they just don't like to be connected to them.
Or, and this is just something that, I don't want to necessarily be true, but they could be saying this, like Blizzard could be saying this because Pandaren and Furbolgs will be the next playable races. So they're trying to split them up by saying that the Pandaren are older than the Furbolgs and are not related to them. That means they're trying to break the ties that some in the lore community have kind of tied those two races together a little bit. And this may be Blizzard's, attempt at kind of separating them so that, they can implement both of those as playable races.
Well,
what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure how that would work at all, because the Furbolgs seem to have more, or at least stronger ties with the Night Elves than any other races.
Yeah,
so,
they
I'm not sure.
If we ever got to play as Furbolgs, they would be joining the Alliance, no doubt.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that means that the Pandaren would join the Horde.
Yeah, and it sort of makes sense. You've talked about this before, I think, on the first episode, that Chen, whatever, has a very close tie to Thrall and Rexar and the Horde, just the Horde in its own. And if he had to seek out one of the two factions, he would probably go for the Horde.
I know, yeah, and we've talked about that before about how even though the Pandaren have ties to both the Alliance and the Horde with the Night Elves and the Tauren and Furbolgs even. I mean, the Furbolgs have been allied with the Alliance for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when people think Horde and they think Alliance, people who aren't like hardcore into the lore and stuff like that think that it's just those races. Like it's just Trolls, Tauren, Orc, Undead, Blood Elves, and Goblins, right?
Draenei.
But it's not. They're actually Draenei are part of the Alliance, bro.
Oh,
Yeah, come on.
I wasn't listening to you. I never do. I just
Right.
thought you were rambling up the names of all the playable races.
But they're not, because the ogres are also, there's clans of ogres that are also, allied with the Horde. There are other races that are allied with the Horde. And on the Alliance, I mean, it's not just the Draenei, humans, Night Elves, and Gnomes and Dwarves. It's, you've got the Furbolgs are also allied with the Alliance. The High Elves are in with the Alliance. You've got more races than what you can play that are allied with the Alliance and the Horde, respectively.
Thacy brings up a good point, though. He says that I'm afraid there's very little chance of Furbolgs being a race aside Pandarans. An entire expansion centered around Pandaria, and then Horde gets Pandaren. Alliance would rage so hard on that.
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, if the title of the expansion, Miss of Pandaria, and the general idea of the expansion is for Pandaren and all that good stuff, and the Horde does get Pandaren as that playable race. Yeah, I can see the Alliance being a little uppity about it, but it wouldn't be the first time that Blizzard has favored one race over the other, one faction over the other. And I don't think that anyone can really say that at one point in time Blizzard hasn't favored one faction over the other. And I'm not saying that they favor the Horde all the time, because they have in the past favored the Alliance and sometimes they favor the Horde. Like I'm not arguing that, Blizzard likes as a company one faction over the other. What I'm saying is that sometimes they have to look like they're favoring one to, appease all, if you will, like to further the game along. I mean, back in vanilla, Alliance lore, like in-game lore back in vanilla, was so far favored towards the Alliance that it was actually boring to play as Horde for me. There was no, I didn't, when I went and played in vanilla, the story progression on the Alliance side was far better and more rewarding and richer in story than the Horde.
Yeah, I have to agree, because during vanilla, the Horde was just kind of there as the other faction to kill. It was very slow and very uninteresting. Whereas the Alliance progression, you had just this constant,
you had more stuff going on. I mean, you had Onyxia being in Stormwind, doing her deal in Stormwind, and all that stuff. I mean, it was just the story progression on the Alliance side back in vanilla was just far better. And then you get into the Burning Crusade, and it was still they did a much better job at kind of being kind of splitting it up a little better to where both sides had great stories. But a lot of that, I feel, comes back into the fact that everything was kind of interconnected.
Yeah.
Back in the Burning Crusade, there was far more. I mean, you had different quest hubs for the different races, but they were more or less the same quests, right?
Yeah.
It all came to the same, and it all came around eventually into the same story. But back in vanilla, the end game story, if you played Alliance, you had a much better understanding of the story and why you're doing the things that you're doing. If you played Alliance over when you played Horde. When you played Horde at the end game rating, you were just kind of put there. There wasn't really, in my opinion, a whole lot of reason or story as to why you're going there. You just went there because that's, where the loot was.
I want to claim that Horde got the long end of the stick, whatever, when it came to Burning Crusade though, because you have the whole brown orc thing and garage and all that in Outland, and you have a race that nobody really cares about in the Alliance. I'm sorry everyone likes the Draenei, they're boring.
Hardcore fans, I think the Draenei are a better race than the Blood Elf. Like, because the Draenei go back to Sargeras. Like, the Draenei are tied in with Sargeras.
However, the starting zone for the Blood Elves is a much more rewarding storyline than the Draenei.
Because the Draenei storyline, you basically crash down, you collect some crystals and get crap running again, then you go meet up with the Alliance ship of like expedition, and you meet all the different races, and that's essentially the story.
Yeah, and you encounter some Kael'thas Blood Elves and a demon, an Eridar, and all that.
Yeah. Oh. That was still a very boring quest line. I remember when I first did it, I couldn't get through the entirety of it. I had to like leave and not come back to my character.
I missed that entire end of the storyline the first 3 times I leveled the Draenei. Because I just left before I could finish Bloody Missile.
Yeah. I left before I even got to Blood Missile.
Okay.
So...
where was I? I totally lost my place. Anyways, like, I'll agree to that, but also, when it comes down to it, I mean, you've got Maiev and Illidan and even Kael'thas at one point. I mean, it all comes tying back into the Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So, they tried, but I do feel that with the Burning Crusade, when it comes to new lore, that the Horde was kind of favored there. And then Wrath of the Lich King, I'm not even sure about, to be honest. I think there was a lot of stuff on both ends. My biggest deal with that though is that would be not Tyralion. Tyrion, right?
Yeah, Tyrion.
My biggest thing with that is that Tyrion was set up to not be Alliance. Like, he was both, and I didn't like that decision. Because in the lore, Tyrion, while he had, with the whole Eltric thing and all that good stuff, but Tyrion is still Alliance, and I don't like the fact that, they kind of made him a neutral party.
Well, considering his best friend is an orc, it wouldn't make sense to have him full on Alliance.
No, of course
that's true.
not.
But look at Jaina Proudmoore. She's full on Alliance, and she's good friends with Thrall.
Mm-hmm.
Good friends, but not best. She doesn't hang out with him all the time. Like, if you look at the quests around Northrend, Tyrion is a lot with... I can't remember the name of the orc.
Eltrig.
Atrig. I think his name is.
I don't know. I've seen it spelled different ways. Like, some with an I and some with an L. And even in my book... of Blood and Honor by Chris Metzen, where the story comes about, it's spelled 2 different ways.
Nice. According to Wowpedia, it's Atrig.
E-I. Yeah.
T. Atrig. So yeah.
That's a very strange name. But I still believe that they should have made him more favorable to the Alliance and the Horde, because it just doesn't seem perfectly right for him to just be, oh yeah, guys, I'm neutral now. Just plain out neutral.
Well, I think they needed to have that for the storyline to make sense.
No, they didn't,
he's the current Ashbringer.
But they didn't. Because Eitrig could have been with him, and he could have been the one talking to the Horde while he was the one talking to the Alliance.
But he's not the Ashbringer.
I don't care if he has the Ashbringer.
Exactly. The Ashbringer was originally part of the Alliance anyways, when they found the crystal after fighting the Horde. So that makes even more sense for him to be Alliance. being that the weapon was originally Alliance.
Well, how would you end Icecrown Citadel without Tyrion?
Just because he's in a cutscene doesn't mean he's Hoarder. Like, it doesn't mean he's Horde.
He ends the entire.
He could have gone
battle.
there with Eitrig. Like, that's the whole deal. Is that he had this best friend Eitrig, who is an orc, who is part of the Horde. Like, Eitrig is full on Horde. So why couldn't he be, Tyrion's ambassador to the Horde?
Well, he gives the alliance
Tyrion and Eitrig could have gone in there together and done this. Right?
Leading their respective forces. Tyrion leading the Alliance forces.
Well, I don't think Eitrig's old. Like, you have to realize he's old.
Well,
so I don't think that he would be, leading battle forces.
Like, he wouldn't be at the front lines fighting, but he would still be giving orders.
But I mean, he could be by Tyrion's side, being that ambassador.
Yeah, he doesn't necessarily need to be on the front lines fighting and everything along those lines. But it does make more sense for him to be some form of ambassador or something, rather than Tyrion just going, guys, I'm neutral now. That cool with everybody? Alright, let's go kill Arthas.
Well, Tyrion still hangs around with the Alliance mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the entire start of Howling Fjord is like, we lost Ashbringer, go get it for me.
Wait, what?
Yeah, in the start of Howling Fjord, you get a quest from a paladin to go into a place where there are a lot of undead to retrieve a sword from I think he's like dying or something. And there are a bunch of undead, and when you pick it up, you like start repelling them and you all kill them instantly. And then when I
don't remember this quest, dude.
It's in the start. I promise you, it's there. And then when you come back, you give it to like a shrouded person that looks like the Wanderer from Diablo 2, and he reveals himself to be Tyrion Fordring.
So you had the Ashbringer? I've never even heard of that quest.
Oh, you need to go and play it then.
Or were you playing Alliance? Or were you playing Alliance or?
It's Alliance.
I need to do that quest then, because
I've got the achievement for like questing in Howling Fjord, doing all the quests and stuff, and I've never played that quest, dude.
You have.
So
I'm just suck at telling stories. Whatever.
Anyways,
break.
Are we there for a break? Remember, guys, this is like a Funsies episode. We're just here, we're talking, having fun. Recharging our lore discussion batteries and whatnot. So,
yeah.
Join in on the discussion in IRC. If you're not in IRC, go to www.nordisilradio.com. Click on the chat button and then come in and join in on all the fun and we're having here talking about everything. So, join in and that good stuff. Wait, what is? Oh, wait, the CN wants me to promote Sunday. Sunday, myself and CN, we're going to be interviewing like one of the best raiding guilds in the world. We're going to be interviewing Method. So come to nordisilradio.com on Sunday, and what we're going to do is we're going to have that interview with Method. We're gonna see how I personally am waiting to see how these hardcore raiders, like if they follow the lore at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see, and then we're gonna talk, about some we're gonna talk about some World of Warcraft raiding and their future in the game and things like that. So it's gonna be really fun, really awesome, really fun. So stop by on Sunday for that interview with Method.
And I am not Jesse.
This podcast is brought to you courtesy of Skype.
Badness has brought you here to me. I shall be your undoing.
And we're back here on But Wait, There Is Lore at Nordisil Radio at nordisilradio.com. I'm Pride. I am joined by myself, obviously, and then we've got Bestby and Blondie.
Hi.
They're here as well.
Hello.
And what we're gonna do now, we're just gonna go run down like a quick little rundown here of everything that kind of came out of this WoW magazine in terms of lore, and then we're gonna go ahead and start taking some emails because we have a bunch of emails. But if you haven't yet sent yours in, you can send us an email at lore@omfg.fm, and we'll get to it towards the end of the show as per usual. And if we don't get to it this week, we'll definitely get to it next week. So send them in, guys. Send them in, ask us, we will answer them, whether it's a question, whether it's hate mail, fan mail, whatever you want to do. Send us an email. We read them all, and we appreciate them all as well. So if you have a question or anything, go ahead, send it in lore@omfg.fm to have that answered live on the show. But let's go down the list of everything that we got from the WoW magazine. This is just to kind of give you guys an idea of what's out there and all that stuff. So starting at the top, obviously Night Elves are indeed evolved from Dark Trolls. Tauren do predate the Titans. Alright, so the Tauren do predate the Titans. They have been around on Azeroth longer than the Titans have. Pandaren have a society older than that of the Night Elves. Curse of Flesh is what turned Vykrul into humans. The Orcs drove a race of giants to extinction to build their temples, but this race was not Graan. The Etten are from Draenor and are a quote-unquote missing link in the evolution of ogres. The Magnetar are related to Cenarius. The who corrupted Sargeras has finally been answered. The first demons that Sargeras fought were Dreadlords, Infernals, Doomguards, and what looked like a male succubus.
Meaning an incubi. Well,
Meaning
several incubi. Sorry.
Grell were created by Asinia. Braun believes Kajamite might have sinister origins. Kobolds are actually evolved from Trog. There are no records of frost dwarves in Ulduar, so Bran speculates they emerged from Uldaman with the regular dwarves and then migrated to Northrend. Earth giants apparently were turned into Graan, who then were turned into ogres and Etten. Pandaren claim to be older than Furbolgs and are not related to them. Bronn believes that all non-Titan races except trolls and their descendants are the offspring of various ancients. Tauren came from a bull ancient, Gorloks from a frog ancient. They later evolved into more Murlocs, of course. Tuskar from a walrus ancient, Harpies from Alviana, etc., etc. Northrend is still crawling with iron dwarves, giants and Vykrul. Thorum and Mimiron are trying to fix them. Dragonkin are mortal races turned into half-dragons by the Dragonflights. This process is not voluntary. Dragons seem to abduct people and force them into transformation. This is how there are so many black dragons spawned. The Titans created 5 types of giants: fire, ice, sea, storm, and stone. They've all been affected by the Curse of Flesh, but not at the same degree as the mortal races have. The absence of the Shadowtooth Dark Troll clan is explained by the Twilight's hammer wiping them out. And the Drakari tribe is all but extinct, and Bronn says trying to eat your gods will do that. So that's the lore that we learned from the World of Warcraft official magazine in issue number 5. Any thoughts?
A lot.
You have a lot of thoughts?
A lot of thoughts. I have to reload the page, but there are a few things that we haven't talked about yet, and one thing I think is interesting, something that I have been wondering about for a long time, is the ogres. We've known that they are connected to the Graan, and we have known nothing about the Etten so far, so that's a good thing. We know where they come from and what they are.
I have to agree, because that's something that's just been kind of missing. I mean, we've known that ogres are there, and we look at Graan and we're like, well, Graan are kind of like ogres in the sense that they're very large, but there's something missing between the two to actually form an ogre. So
Yeah.
now we have it in Etten. However, well, at least I don't have any idea what they are.
Well, they are currently, I think they're only shown in, what was it called, Silver Pine Forest. They pull some lorries that people can jump on. Like, they're being used as horses.
Oh, yeah.
Two heads looks a bit like a thinner
Like-
ogre with longer arms.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's right.
So,
there we have it. The missing
'Cause-
link between the two.
because those used to be, those used to be in the early beta and possibly alpha. Used to be the Gron model before they got their own model, and this shows why. You can also see them in the new instance, the one with where you fly on dragons. I can't remember the name of it. RC, help me out there. They're apparently in Gilneas and Twilight Highlands and stuff. Oh, what's the name of that one? Grimbatol.
Yes.
You can see them in there, and there's an entire boss that is a giant Etin.
Yeah, so it all makes sense now. That's why ogres are around, because a Gron is the original, I suppose it would be.
Yeah, and then they devolved, considering they're smaller, into an Etin, and then into what the ogre kings are. If you remember, like the bosses. Well,
Yeah,
boss
the
from-
very large guys that are probably about the size of an Etten, if not a little larger.
Yeah, that looks like they look weird. I mean, ogres doesn't look smart, but these guys look like they have had some defect when they were born.
To differentiate them, and then they just kind of got busy and evolved into ogres. Or devolved.
Orca leader says in the IRC, so all ogres were two-headed, and I'm gonna say that probably not. We haven't seen any two-headed Gron, but there might have been, and there might have been one-headed Etin. It's just that
Or-
Blizzard is lazy,
Yeah.
and it costs
Blizzard-
money to develop models.
And cost money to develop books. So, there we have it. It may or may not be, we don't know yet, until Chris Metzen or somebody else hops on to an interview and says, yeah, there were. We just are too lazy to show it. So,
I'm actually looking forward to the lore Q&A again.
yeah, I think that would be something that's gonna be very intriguing.
Simply because the red shirt guy was awesome. You
Yeah.
can't beat the red shirt guy. He's my hero.
I could beat the red shirt guy.
No.
Pride Kid. I do have to say, though, that Dragonkin being mortal races just turned into half dragons by the flights and being forced into it, that's something that, if the mortal races find out, could be a problem for the dragons.
Well, the mortal races did find out because Braun found out.
Oh, well, yes. I
All
suppose.
this lore comes from Braun.
Yeah.
So now we're waiting to see if Braun decides to go and blabber his big mouth to everybody and be like, guys, yeah, those dragon spawn, they're us, only mutated.
But what
I
are
think- I
most
think-
of,
I
but
think-
what are most of the dragon spawn? They're all like 90% of them are black, right? So the black dragonflight. Like you don't see. I mean,
blue?
you do see many blue as well, but it all comes back to when were they transformed?
I wanna
Yeah.
say,
Because
I
if
wanna
you
say-
remember, Malagos had been insane forever, and then when he stopped being insane, he went to war with the mortal races.
I want to say that this should have a change, and it should say the process isn't necessarily voluntary, because I could believe that there are mages that decided to align with Malygos, and then they got turned into Dragonspawn.
Then that could be true as well.
Because there are a
But
lot
at least I have yet to see a green Dragonspawn.
No. But
I have seen.
Actually,
I was gonna say. Okay, you go first.
There is. You see a bronze Dragonspawn, quite a lot of them actually. I'm pretty sure I've seen a green Dragonspawn somewhere.
To my memory, I have not seen a green Dragonspawn.
I'm pretty sure
I've seen every other color but green.
I think I've seen once before. However, the green dragon spawn would most likely be in the Emerald Dream. So that
What about-
could be why
That's right. Sunken Temple.
Yeah, I was about
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, that's true.
They all went there.
Well, and it's also not to say that it's not to say that the aspects themselves have to make the dragon spawn.
Yeah, that would be true, because I would assume that the Dragonspawn in Sunken Temple are adventurers turned by whatever the dragon that is there is called.
Yeah, because with the Emerald Nightmare, causing some of the green dragons to go insane, they could have just as easily created dragon spawn, and
Yeah,
then
that's
those
true.
dragon spawn are now in the Sunken Temple. So
However-
just because it's involuntary and they just get abducted or whatever, what have you, doesn't necessarily mean that these good dragons are turning these guys into dragon spawn.
But something I do have to mention that seems like it could cause some friction is mainly with the red dragonflight, because the red dragonflight does have quite a few dragon spawn.
Yeah, the red
So-
dragonflight does have a lot of dragon spawns.
I could
So
see those
that-
being very voluntarily though. I can't see the red dragonflight forcing anyone to be something else.
Well, even then, you have when Alex Ross was being controlled by the Horde, they could have forced her to create dragon spawn then.
Ooh, they wanted dragons that could fly though. They wanted proper dragons.
They didn't want dragon spawn, so after they saw the first effects of it, they would probably say not anymore.
Perhaps.
Because-
I'm just saying these are just alternative, means to this. If this is, 100%, no one can volunteer. It's completely and totally involuntary. Which
Well,
I would say
that's
that the
impossible.
chances are very high that that you can voluntarily be a dragonkin
It's
or
impossible to not be.
a dragon spawn.
It's impossible to not make it voluntarily, considering you can come to a dragon and say, hey, I want to be a dragon spawn, and they can do whatever process it takes. The only way it couldn't be voluntarily is if it's done before birth, or like just when you're born. That's the only one.
Or something I was gonna say is it had to be, or it could be something along the lines of with magic, that the person had to be angry or something along the lines at the dragon in order for it to happen. So that could be another thing, because magic's weird like that. Different rituals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's many different. That goes back to there's many different explanations because we don't know the answer.
Yeah. But
Yet.
that explains why there are dragon spawn and dragonkin and all that.
Everywhere.
And not just dragons.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Blondie,
Because-
I want you to play my song that I sent you.
You want me to play your song?
Yes.
It's your song.
I want
now.
you to play. No, it's Fatty's song, but I want you to play that song so we can take a little break, and when we get back, we can do the emails and stuff because that's what I want to do. But what I want to say is that this is by far probably the best World of Warcraft song ever. And I actually met this chick on my way to BlizzCon 09. I flew from Houston to LA with her, so she's cool people.
People. She's schizophrenic as well. Okay,
Yes.
So, play song.
This podcast is brought to you courtesy of Skype.
The thunder of my vengeance will echo through these corridors like the gust of 1,000 winds!
Wow, like the gust of 1,000 winds. Alright, we're back here on Boetas Lore on Nordiso Radio at nordisoradio.com. I'm Pride, joined by Bestby and Blondie.
Hi.
And right now, we are answering your lore questions that you have emailed to us at lore@omfg.fm. Let's get right into it. Let's get started with the very first question, sort of a question. If Miss of Pandaria, assuming it is an expansion, I believe Furbolg should be added to the Alliance and Gnolls to the Horde, specifically the Stillpine Furbolg and any Horde-allying Gnolls. Do you think these would be good races? With all Mole? No, I don't think that they would be good races.
At all.
No.
Terrible races.
Well,
Absolutely.
Furbolg makes sense, and it's a better race than Null. No.
Yeah.
Meh.
No, we already have a short race on both sides. We don't need any more short races, right? No one can ever compete with the gnomes, so Blizzard just needs to stop trying and just let it be. All right, that's where I stand on that. Like, that's it.
That's the one thing the gnomes and their intelligence have on every other race. Well, just about every other race in the World of Warcraft. They are that short. They can say that with pride and honor in their voice. I am the shortest.
Right.
There's a problem with Gnolls as well. They generally have a very low intelligence, lowish.
Yeah.
Like they can create crude weapons, but that's about it.
They're, they're, if you would, cavemen.
And whenever
Go-
a semi-smart Gnoll rises up, we kill him. Namely Hogger.
Gold tooth.
Yeah, like,
Oh,
as soon as there's-
any.
Well, Goldtooth wasn't a.
Yeah.
Kobold.
Kobold.
All right. Well, this next question is from I'm gonna say Miroslav Mitrovic. Sounds Russian.
Thorovic.
Mitrovic sounds like a Call of Duty character.
Mm-hmm.
Mitrovic. Hello, peeps. Were dragons made by titans, or did they exist before?
yes,
They
and no.
existed before.
They existed before.
They existed before the titans.
However, the
Oh.
Titans imbued the 5 aspects with their powers.
They, basically what happened is that the proto-dragons were around before the Titans, like the ones that we see in Northrend, and then the Titans came around and said, we like these guys, and then they evolved them into the dragons we know today.
Or some of them. Mainly the 5
Yeah.
aspects and like their little group.
Yeah.
And some more. I mean, namely, the main aspect, the former main aspect of Alex Strasser, can't remember his name, Tyrannostrass, I think. He was one of the first dragons to be turned, and he wasn't an aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's said to have been older than Alex Strasser. He's dead now.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I think he died.
The next part of this question is also in Dragonblight. There are some massive dragon skeletons, easily 2 times larger than any of the 5 current aspects, and they just made by were they just made by Blizzard for impressive scenery, or were they once living dragons?
They were once living dragons. Dragons at that time were that big, such as the original dragon, whose name I forget, Galakrond, was a gigantic dragon, which is why the Scourge was so intent on bringing him back as a Frostworm. Because if they could do that, they could basically kick the 5 aspects' ass to a point. Mainly Alexstrasza and the Worm-Wrest Accord.
Indeed. Imagine if Sephiroth was about as big as Northrend and about as powerful as everything on the planet combined, and then times 10.
and that would be Galakrond.
No, that would be his left toe,
Yeah. Yeah.
left little finger, whatever.
Yeah, they
Alright,
actually had to scale him down, I believe,
Yeah,
because he was so massive.
I mean, that's one thing that people don't seem to get when they play the game. Everything is scaled down. Like, Terran Mill used to be a huge city, like huge city. It's not really a huge city.
It used to be a massive farm,
I mean,
like a massive farm.
Stormwind is about the size of New York.
Actually,
Yeah.
bigger.
Well, yeah, bigger than New York. And Terran, if you read the manga, specifically the Sunworld trilogy, you get to see Terran Mill in its glory days when it was sprawling, and there are massive buildings, and it's not a small place. It's not a small place at all. And
It's a very
Cersei
large
sinned.
town.
Cersei sinned. You do not link anything else but Wowpedia.
Wait, what happened?
He linked something else than Wowpedia as a source.
Wow. No.
Do not.
Bad Zersty.
Bad.
Bad Zersty.
Bad.
So,
How dare he?
what was the original question? Oh yeah, dragons were that big. Yeah, Galakrond is the prime example.
Indeed. Alright, the next question is from Patrick. With the revealing of Sinestra still being alive, what are all your thoughts on Darganox, and if he might still be alive also, or if Sinestra might have saved him?
I think he means Dragonax. The the first Twilight Dragon created in Day of the Dragon or Night of the Dragon, I think.
Yeah, Night of the Dragon. Is it? I don't remember. I don't have my book with me.
Yeah, I think it's Night of the Dragon takes place shortly after the Burning Crusade, or during the end of Burning Crusade, where Sinestra creates a Twilight Dragon, but he feeds too much energy and then explodes.
Kaplooey.
So,
I'm gonna say probably not, but there is always a possibility.
yeah,
I gotta agree.
whenever someone returns, they rarely return from being exploded from within.
Because that's something where you can't really... Well, I suppose with the use of necrotic magics, you could, however, come back from that, though you wouldn't be yourself at all. You would be sewed together, much like the patchworks of this world.
Yeah.
So, that's about
Alright.
it.
Next question comes from Christopher. It says, I don't know if you've read the stuff on the Dark Moon Fair coming in 4.3, but it's full of interesting stuff, including a note about the Dark Moon Isle being surrounded in mist, and that nobody would believe whom they got the island from. It also has a warning not to wander into the forest around the fair. Do you think that this is leakage of the next expansion being Mist of Pandaria? Also, do you think that all the Gamescom info on 4.3 and 4.4 is because the next expansion is coming soon and that BlizzCon might have the beta announced along with the expansion?
It won't have the beta.
They would probably announce the expansion, but they wouldn't announce it being in beta. They're probably still in alpha right now, if anything. Still getting the basics done.
Remember back when they announced Wrath of the Lich King and they released that cool in-game looking cinematic
Trailer.
which yeah, it had Arthas monologuing, and then it didn't turn out to sound like Arthas at all in the game. and then they went new race Death Knight and he wears hunter armor.
I remember that, and they played the whole Death Knight trailer. I wanted that Death Knight. I was looking forward to it because it was a warlock. You had plate armor or mail armor, so I was like, "Wow, that's awesome."
Yeah. But that's basically what I expect. Is
We're
going
gonna
to be
get it. We're
revealed.
gonna get. I'm not gonna say it's like a half-ass trailer, but it's gonna be a trailer with a lot of
info.
placeholders.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of placeholders.
Also,
the whole,
if you go back and watch that cinematic, every single scene from that cinematic takes place in Howling Fjord.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. I don't know if and the other part of this was about the Dark Moon Fair. Yeah, it's heavily hinted that they got it from the Pandaren, and that it might be Pandaria or something along those lines.
Yeah, it might or it might not. It might be like...
that's what the hint is trying to say, but it could be something to throw us off. I mean, I don't know. We don't know.
It could
be like the Pandaren gave them like this singular area on their island or something. Who knows?
Something like that. This one is from Pontus. It says, "Greetings, wise one." Well, hello, my child. Is there any chance Gul'dan will rise from the dead and be a total badass once again? Also, let's answer that first. No. Also, why does everyone hate us undead so much? All we do is defend our land and gather the resources necessary to do so.
And raise the dead.
No, you don't. You don't defend shit. You try and take other people's shit, and then gather the resources necessary to do that.
Again.
And then
you're not. Hey, look. I'm sorry, undead. You're not the good guys.
At all. Not even close. Not even in the general ballpark.
Like, orcs can be called the good guys, and so can humans and most other races. Like, when it comes to environmentalists, the druids are obviously the good guys, and goblins can be called the bad guys.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna say that orcs are the bad guys, or the Horde itself is the bad guys, and the Alliance is the good guys, but nothing is good about
the Forsaken.
The undead.
The Forsaken.
Yeah,
at all.
Like, look, you're out for yourself, and that's because of your leader. Alright, so if you want to be a part of us, again, a part of the good guys, then you need to kill Sylvanas. Alright? Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Next question from Wozers says, I want to know what happened to the High Elves.
They're still around.
They're still around.
Most
of fact. I was going to mention how quite a lot of the High Elves have actually migrated back to Quell Thalas, excuse me, and they, as well with the Blood Elves, have begun work on clearing the undead scar, or the dead scar, all across their lands, as well as repairing the forest and different aspects of their life, as well as trying to become one civilization again, united. So that's something.
Well, I mean, there's inner turmoil.
I know.
Technically speaking, High Elves and Blood Elves are the same race.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is,
it's just that Blood Elves kind of renamed. Blood Elves became a little, got addicted to magic, and started calling themselves Blood Elves due to what happened with everything with the Lich King and all that stuff.
The High Elves and the Blood Elves are just as much addicted to magic. The thing is that after the events of the Third War, a lot of High Elves had died, and Kelthus decided to rename his people Blood Elves because he thought that it would be a nice honoring towards those who had died. But not everyone followed Kelthus. I mean, I know this is going against our beliefs and referencing the RPG books, but there are about 12,000 High Elves living in Stormwind.
There's a confirmed large population of High Elves that live in Stormwind,
and even bigger in Dalaran, and apparently now in Quel'Thalas as well. They're the same people that call themselves.
Well, sort of, because the High Elves and the Blood Elves. The High Elves are allied full on with the Alliance, and the Blood Elves are aligned with the Horde. So it causes a lot of friction within that particular race.
Yeah. It's like
essentially Blood Elves and High Elves are the same.
It's basically like two different political parties in one civilization.
It's like Danes and Swedes. I wish I had Dane here right now, because he could confirm this, but it's like Danes and Swedes. We're basically the same, but we hate each other.
Yeah. And T brings up a good point about the Blood Elves would still be a part of the Alliance if it wasn't for Lord Garethos.
Yes, that would be true. But something I would like to mention real quick is that just because High Elves are becoming more entwined with the Blood Elves and coming back to their actual lands, that doesn't mean that we're going to see all of the High Elves suddenly come back to Quel'Thalas and remerge with their people. No, there's just groups that are coming back to help their lands, and the Blood Elves are welcoming them back home as family to a point. They're still treated differently and sent.
It's sort of like you could kind of relate to the way that arcane magic using Night Elves are being reintroduced into Night Elven society.
Yeah, that's essentially it.
All right, next question, and this might be the last one. We'll see.
Probably.
This one is from Abaddon. It says, am I correct in assuming the dragon aspects were created by the Ancients? You would be incorrect in assuming that the dragon aspects were created by the Ancients. If so, which they are not, why did the Ancients create the dragons and living flesh and blood beings and everything else they created wasn't flesh and was made so by the curse of flesh? I think what he's really trying to say is not Ancients, but Titans.
Yeah.
So for the sake of this, we're gonna assume that he means Titans when he's speaking of Ancients. So I'm gonna reread the question, replacing Ancients with Titans. Am I correct in assuming that the dragon aspects were created by the Titans? If so, then why did the Titans create the dragons and living flesh and blood beings when everything else they created wasn't flesh and was made so by the curse of flesh? Or were the Titans originally like earthen as well as, but all became corrupted by the curse of flesh with everything else?
Well, the thing about it is,
We already
yes,
explained
the
this.
dragons. Yeah, we more or less already explained the question because the other question was how were the aspects created. So that's essentially the same thing. Dragons, the proto-drakes were already around. They saw them, they liked them, and the Titans were like, okay, well, since you guys are already around, we'll gift you some powers, and you guys are now the protectors of this world. There you go.
It says, I am also curious why they even created an aspect of life when their idea of life, the earthen, etc., was so ordered. Were the Dread Dragons meant to ensure no earthen broke their programming or something, or have I totally misinterpreted the lore?
Grass, trees, flowers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that
Life doesn't necessarily equal mortality.
and
Yeah.
I mean, there were still bears and fish and birds and stuff back then, like that weren't metal.
It's just the mortal races evolved from the metal due to the curse of flesh.
Some
Those
of them.
were, yes, some of them. There were the trolls, etc., that were still on Azeroth, that were not wiped from the face of Azeroth. So, there you have it. They were just the protectors of the life, being like the trolls, as well as the fish, the bears, all that stuff.
The Tauren.
Yeah, the Tauren, who were evolved from bulls, apparently.
So
Or the bull ancient.
to clarify, the dragons were never stone, metal, or any other thing. They've always been as they are right now, after they were transformed by the Titans. So yeah,
Alright,
it's time for us to go.
cool. Is it, one last quick, easy question. Hello, Pride and others. I have a question about WoW lore books. What is, in your opinion, the best World of Warcraft book? Blondie, what do you think is the best book?
Arthas, the Rise of the Lich King, hands down.
Bestby?
Agreed.
Yeah? I think that the best book is not Arthas Rise of the Lich King. I think that the best World of Warcraft book is The Last Guardian. That's in my opinion, that's the best World of Warcraft book. But he says, I ordered Rise of the Lich King, so what should I order next? I'm gonna say, I would actually say the Warcraft Archive should be your next pickup, because it's 4 books in one.
If you
like
can
$10.
if you can stand Richard Knack's writing, then Storm Age is a pretty good book, and so is the War of the Ancients trilogy. If you don't care about how much lore he's butchering.
Alright, he says, from Finland with love, Neonin. P.S. I love your show and Lore for Noobs. Well, we appreciate that, and Blondie, of course, he works for Lore for Noobs as well. So go him. He's he did the production work on Rexar.
Oh,
so
yeah.
there you go on that. All right, guys. Well, that is the show. I want to remind you once again that this Sunday, in just 2 short days, myself and Cian from Nordiso Radio are going to sit down and we're going to interview Method, one of the top World of Warcraft rating guilds in the world. We're going to sit down, we're going to talk to them, we're going to figure out, we're going to get inside their heads, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So tune into that this Sunday on NordraSillRadio.com. Don't miss it, guys. And that's it, right? Email if you want to get your emails in, go ahead, send them in, lore@omfg.fm, and we'll get to those next week, guys. We're going back to our structured environment next week, and but we hope you enjoyed this little Funsies episode where we just kind of let ourselves go and talk lore and things like that. So, but next week we'll be going back to our structured little deal and the discussion and all that good stuff. So. Much appreciated for you listening. I love you guys. And do we have anything else we need to plug, Blondie?
Yes, coming up after this show, I'm gonna play one song, our outro song, as we play per usual, and then it's Oldie Hour with DJ Brigsill. So stay tuned for that.
So stay tuned for DJ Brigsill right here on Nordrasil Radio at nordrasilradio.com.
I went with my alt on a blood furnace run. The druid we had was tanking his cat. He needed on cloth and he needed on plates. Said I'll sell it at the auction house. You hear them in barons in Outland they roam, spamming the trade channel begging for gold. They can't be avoided, they never will change. Don't let the tarts get you down. Don't let the tarts get you down. For the daily slave pens a hunter joined in, aspect of a pack, aggressive on pet. He pulled 2 more groups, and after we wiped, he asked why he didn't get healed. You hear them in barons in Outland they roam, leaving your pickups and stealing your loot. They can't be avoided, they never will change. Don't let the tarts get you down. Don't let the tarts get you down. In wars on Gulch I defended our flag. A rogue spoke his mind with caps in the chat. Up on the roof the alleys got close. He stealthed and the flag was returned. You hear them in barons in Outland they roam, passive in battlegrounds camping your corpse. They can't be avoided, they never will change. Don't let the tarts get you down. Don't let the tarts get you down. You hear them in barons in Outland they roam. I will not move when flame wreath is cast. They can't be avoided, they never will change. You hear them in barons in Outland they roam. I once was a tart, but who hasn't been? They can't be avoided, they never will change. Don't let the tarts get you down. Don't let the tarts get you down. Don't let the tarts get you down. Don't let the tarts get you down.